We are getting a live picture right now as we are following a shooting at the Swedish Hospital on Chicago's North Side. Authorities speaking about this right now.
Good afternoon, everybody. Once again, we're here. I'm sad to say that we've lost another officer in the line of duty and another officer who's been critically injured. At approximately 10:50 a.m., our officers transported an individual over to Swedish Covenant Hospital for an observation, at which time two of our officers were shot. One was shot critically and was pronounced. The second officer right now is fighting for his life in the hospital.
Imagine a busy Saturday morning in the Lincoln Square neighborhood. The hospital is filled with staff, patients, and families. Among them are two Chicago police officers, Officer John Bartholomew and Superintendent Larry Snelling and his veteran partner. They are not there for an emergency of their own. They are doing their jobs, escorting a suspect arrested for robbery who needed a medical clearance. It should have been routine. It should have ended with a signature on a discharge paper and a trip back to the precinct. Instead, it became a crime scene that would leave one officer dead, another fighting for his life, and a suspect running naked through the streets of Chicago. To understand how this happened, we have to look at the suspect. This individual was already in custody for a robbery. Per standard protocol, he was searched. He was wanted for metal. He was handcuffed. When he complained of an ailment, the officers did what they were supposed to do. They took him to the nearest medical facility. When they arrived at Swedish Hospital, the suspect was wanted again by hospital security. No weapon was found. But as we've seen in so many cases on this channel, no weapon found is not the same as no weapon present. According to Superintendent Larry Snelling, the suspect was being prepared for a medical scan specifically, a procedure that required his handcuffs to be removed. It was in this moment of perceived safety, inside the clinical white walls of an exam room, that the impossible happened. The suspect produced a handgun. Investigators now believe the weapon may have been concealed in his backside or a body cavity, a location that standard pat-downs and even metal detector wands sometimes miss if the device isn't used with extreme precision or if the weapon is positioned just right. The silence of the hospital was shattered by gunfire. Officer John Bartholomew, a 10-year veteran of the force, was struck. His partner, a 57-year-old officer with decades of experience, was also hit. In the chaos, the suspect didn't just fire, he escaped. Surveillance stills from the hospital show a terrifying sight. The suspect, having stripped off his clothes to facilitate the concealment or perhaps in the struggle, fleeing through the hospital corridors. Kindly subscribe now and let go on to the details. The viral nature of this case began the moment those surveillance images hit the internet. Seeing a suspect navigate a professional medical facility while armed and unclothed was a visual so jarring it sparked immediate outrage and confusion. How does a man in police custody, who has been searched twice, end up in a shootout inside a hospital? While the officers lay bleeding, the suspect made it outside. Cell phone video captured by witnesses. The kind of raw footage that defines modern true crime showed the suspect running through the neighborhood of Carmen Avenue. The response from the Chicago Police Department was instantaneous and massive. Within minutes, the area was flooded. Officers who were blocks away or just starting their shifts raced to the scene. The suspect was eventually cornered and taken back into custody, but the damage was irreversible. Officer John Bartholomew was pronounced dead shortly after. He was 38 years old, a man who had dedicated a decade to the city, only to lose his life in a place where people go to survive. His partner remains in critical condition, a fight for life that has the entire city on edge. As we analyze this on Cold Trail Crime, we have to talk about the why. This isn't just about a violent individual, it's about a failure of systems. We are seeing a heated debate erupt over police protocols. Why was a high-risk suspect allowed to have his handcuffs removed without a more invasive search? Was the hospital's security wand malfunctioning, or was it a human error in how the search was conducted? The viral footage of the arrest on Carmen Avenue shows a man who seemed to have no plan other than chaos. But for the family of John Bartholomew, there is no logic that makes sense of this. The Chicago Police Department held a somber procession, a sea of blue lights stretching for miles, a visual reminder of the cost of this security breach. For you, the viewers of Cold Trail Crime, this case serves as a chilling reminder that the trail isn't always hidden in the woods or in old cold case files. Sometimes, the trail is right in front of us, recorded on hospital security cameras and witness iPhones, leading to a tragedy that should have been prevented. As the legal proceedings against the suspect begin, the city is left asking if its officers and its citizens are truly safe anywhere, even in the halls of a hospital. We will continue to follow the forensic updates and the internal investigation into how that weapon entered the facility. This is a story of a routine day turned into a nightmare, a reminder that in the world of true crime, the most dangerous moments are often the ones where we think we have everything under control. Thank you for joining me on Cold Trail Crime. If you found this deep dive into the Swedish hospital shooting informative, please hit the like button and subscribe. We will be here, following every lead and every update. Stay safe out there.
We're going to give you the opportunity to ask questions. This is an ongoing investigation, so I'm not going to get too deep into the details of this. I will give you the most high-level information that I can give you, but this is under investigation, and we're not going to do anything to impede that investigation. So I just want to make sure that everyone understands that when you ask your questions. With that, I'm going to turn it over to the Mayor of the City of Chicago, Mayor Brandon Johnson.
Thank you, Superintendent. Thank you for your leadership. Today is a real difficult moment for our city. It's a tragedy. Our officers stand in the way of harm every single day, risking their own lives. And along with them risking their lives, they have family that expect them to come home. One of our officers will not be able to return to their family. And I'm calling on the entire city of Chicago to pray for this officer's family and that they heal from this tragedy. I'm also asking the city of Chicago to pray for one of our officers that is currently fighting for their life and is in serious condition. I want to thank our Chicago Police Department for showing up every single day for the people of this city. I want to thank the city of Chicago for putting their arms around our officers. This tragedy and this loss is not only heartbreaking, but it's a constant reminder of why we have to continue to ensure that our police department has the services and resources that they need to effectively do their job. That we're also providing the type of mental health support services that's also needed so that they can do their jobs well.
To understand the gravity of this lapse, we have to dissect the physics and the psychology of the search protocols used that morning. In the world of law enforcement and high-stakes security, there is a concept known as the illusion of the search. When a suspect is wanded with a metal detector and patted down, there is a psychological tendency for the officers to relax their vigilance once the device stays silent. But a handheld metal detector is only as effective as the sweep's coverage and the sensitivity settings of the device. If a weapon is positioned vertically along the midline of the body or deep within a body cavity, the density of the surrounding human tissue can sometimes muffle the signal or create a dead zone. If the wand isn't passed directly over the metal at a specific angle, we also have to look at the transition of custody. When a suspect moves from a precinct to a hospital, there is a dangerous handoff of responsibility. In many jurisdictions, hospital security wands everyone entering the ER as a secondary layer of protection. However, these guards are often trained for civilian interactions, not for the high-level tactical concealment practiced by career criminals. If the police saw the hospital security warn the suspect and heard no alarm, it may have reinforced a false sense of security. This is what we call confirmation bias. In a tactical setting, two separate groups both assumed the other had done a perfect job, creating a Swiss cheese effect where the holes in the safety net lined up perfectly. The specific protocol for medical scans adds another layer of complexity. MRI machines and certain X-ray procedures are incompatible with metal handcuffs, necessitating their removal. This is the kill zone in police transport, the moment of maximum vulnerability. Standard operating procedure usually dictates a strip search, or a more invasive reach-in search if a suspect is going to be unconstrained in a private room, but those searches are legally and logistically difficult to perform in a public hospital hallway or a busy emergency room. The suspect likely knew this. He exploited the gap between medical necessity and custodial security. Furthermore, the technology of modern firearms has evolved. While most handguns are still primarily steel or polymer with metal slides, there are subcompact models designed specifically for deep concealment. These pocket pistols, or backup guns, are small enough to fit in the palm of a hand and can be easily tucked into areas of the body that are often skipped during a standard, polite pat-down due to social taboos or fear of litigation. In the case at Swedish Hospital, the investigation is looking into whether the suspect used a friction tuck or an internal concealment method that bypassed the standard waist and ankle sweep. By the time the officers realized the search had failed, they were in a confined exam room with no cover, turning a routine medical check into a fatal ambush. This failure highlights a desperate need for a technological shift, perhaps moving toward full-body millimeter wave scanners, similar to those in airports, for any suspect being treated in a civilian environment where traditional restraints must be removed.
Identify the officer who passed away or the other one?
No, we don't release officers' names out of respect for the families. We need to make sure that every member of these officers' families have been notified before we release it. We don't want them to find out through the press.
Can you tell us how long they've been with?
Well, we have one officer who's 38 years old, 10-year veteran of the department. The other officer is 57, 21-year veteran of the department. I'm sorry, what was that question?
Which one's the age of the person who passed?
The 38 years old.
Superintendent, is there anything further you can share about the moments that led up to the shooting? And also, Swedish Hospital put out a statement saying that they did their protocols, they wanted individuals, yet somehow this suspect still ended up with a gun. So anything you can share on that?
Well, I can't get too deep into it because it's still under investigation. We have witnesses to talk to, witness statements to gather, video if at all possible. So I won't get too deep into it. We do know that there was a third weapon recovered. So we're doing a full investigation on that right now. Go ahead.
Were they the only officers, I guess, involved in the situation at that hospital? Were they with any other members of their unit?
Right now, the information, those officers were there as transport officers themselves. So there were no other officers present at the time.
Can you tell us why the suspect was arrested in the first place and where the suspect was found after this incident?
Well, he was taken into custody for a suspected robbery. And usually when you see those types of crimes, these are very violent individuals. So, and I'm speaking generally there, not particularly about this case, and I want to make that clear because this is still under investigation. So I just want to be general there, where we know that people in our city have been harmed by people who commit crimes like robbery and gun violence.
Could you provide any details on why the suspect was being transported to Swedish in the first place?
Like I said, I won't get into the details of it, but observation. There are often times that we as the police, we take someone into custody. We want to make sure that if they suffering from some illness or something of that nature, that we get them treatment.
Last question.
Was
please.
Can you provide any context on where the suspect was apprehended and was there any sort of hostage to the situation?
Right now, I don't have that information to share, and to be totally honest with you, I wouldn't share it right now because it's still under investigation, and we have a lot to unravel here. I just want to be clear about one thing. We can talk about the crime and the criminal activity that led up to this, but right now, this is about these officers and their family members. The loss of life, the senseless loss of life of an officer who was out attempting to protect the city. Another officer who is fighting for his life, attempting to protect this city.